but it's more than basic. It's a portion of his rap, but the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some more observations. They're important like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the core is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm and a
So, if you've listened to the podcast and you heard the Podcast Party Part 1, Podcast Party Part 2 is available for a simple donation of $5 to the Patreon. And you can listen to the second part of that very long podcast stream. But just as a bonus to everyone, I'll go ahead and tell you that if you've heard Part 2, you probably still don't know who the hell Sarah and I were talking about, the radio voice that we were trying to think of, because you knew that we got it wrong. It was Horace McQueen. Horace McQueen, the Farm and Ranch Report, which is what my wife informed me of, because I knew she knew. And on the actual recording, I said, I bet my wife would know instantaneously, and she did. She knew instantaneously. Horace McQueen of the Farm and Ranch Report. All right, so that just clears up that mystery for anybody that was still wondering. And now you'll go to the episode if you haven't heard it, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, I know what it is. This show you're listening to right now is Tattoo with Children. I am your host, Flavor Ray, in Seat A. Across from me in Seat B is Red Power Benjamin. Across from us both is the man who doesn't need a coat even in the cold rain, CIO No Pain.
That's a lie.
Well, I introduce you in certain ways. You know, most of what I say about you when I introduce you is completely not true.
Yes.
But it's intentional. It's intentional because I'm going to be relentlessly positive about you in the introduction.
Okay.
So I got to make shit up.
I've been waiting for you to shut up long enough for me to say your mom's a simple $5 donation.
You know what? I've been listening to old episodes of our podcast, and I came to some epiphanies.
Yeah.
Some things I didn't know about me and about the show until I listened to they just hit me all at once.
Yeah.
The first epiphany I came to was we have a huge body of work. Like if we were to all get hit by a bus immediately after this recording,
Right.
you can still blow a weekend listening to what we've already done. You know, I mean
yeah, absolutely.
that's like a lot of material.
That's a lot of bullshit.
It is a lot of bullshit. But it is a body of work. It is a literal, legacy. We've already established.
Yeah.
Generations
What
can listen to this.
What is the definition of legacy?
I don't know.
I've done a video series on legacy.
Go. Well, what is the definition of legacy there?
The technical. Why does that make you laugh so hard?
I know you have, Mike. You're such a good human. I love you so much.
Jesus Christ. That is not.
Well, legacy.
That's not the look that he has on his face. Look at his face. I can't believe this dip. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Legacy has two definitions: an amount of money or property left to someone in a will.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or
We don't have that.
An applicant to a particular college or university who is regarded preferentially because a parent or other relative attended the same institution.
Okay, we're closer to the first definition than the second.
What was the
Right.
first one again?
An amount of money or property left to someone in a will.
Okay.
But
this
they
is
don't
left-
accurately describe the true, what we tend to think of as legacy.
Yeah, legacy is what you leave to the world, is my definition. It's what you leave to prosperity.
Yeah.
Posterity
Posterity,
is
right.
what I want to say.
Posterity, prosperity.
Yeah, I fucked that up.
Prostaterity.
I don't oftentimes do just a complete flub, so
Yeah.
that's a good one.
What's up, Toby Handfolk? I'm running a live on Instagram on my personal account.
Is that what's happening? Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, what's up?
What up, Ben's Instagram folks?
Well, I only have one.
Well, he counts.
Or
He-
I don't know.
He or she counts as folks.
Right, yeah, they do. No, I just figured I'd play around a little today.
It's a good idea.
Since your mom jokes seem to be the only thing I can make today,
We'll keep
And
that
yesterday,
going.
too, he was making your mom
We'll,
jokes.
Really?
It's a
we'll
week
keep that up.
I do a lot of your mom jokes.
Yeah.
I think it's because you grew up with a bunch of boys.
Probably. That's probably true.
And y'all made fun of each other's mother because y'all had the same mother.
Right, yeah, we did. It was pretty bad if you actually think about it. I mean,
It's kinda awful.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of awful. But yeah, I don't know what we really want to talk about on today's episode.
I'm still going. I was still talking. I was still in the middle of something. We can skip all that, though.
Was it that important?
No, it wasn't important at all.
I know where you got hit in the face from by that comment on Twitter. That was Reezy. Reezy is like one of the most amazing people that I follow on IG and Twitter.
Yeah.
I think Reezy is probably more so than Gary Vee. Reezy is my reason to keep attacking my perspective of the internet.
Yeah.
Because this guy, I mean, we all know that guy. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We all know that guy who like dropped out of school at 16
Yeah.
because he got some girl pregnant
Yeah.
and then like couldn't get a GED.
He's sort of like that song Skater Boy.
Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah.
And yet here he is like 8 years later, and I would argue that this dude Reezy resells on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everything else. I would actually, if you said, whose life would you like, I would have a hard time not naming him first. Like, I wouldn't name Jay. I wouldn't name, Dez. I wouldn't name Gary.
Right.
I would have a hard time not wanting his life. Because, like, he's done so much work on himself.
Yeah.
He's like a walking success story.
Yeah.
He's like the American success story.
But I mean, it's not. We're not talking, strictly a financial success.
No, not at all.
It's the fact that he's figured out a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That takes people longer to figure out.
Yeah, and like he's also like, I don't know, man. He's just like doing it, and like
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. Like I see a guy, a photographer friend of mine, took a picture of me the other day and sent it to me, like as I was tattooing, and I was like, I'm not gonna post that. And he was like, why? And I was like, because you got my gut in it. Like I look fat. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Reezy's just like, fuck this shit. I look like I look. I'm gonna post everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he
and
does.
I'm just like, dude, how do you have that much confidence?
And I really wish I could do that. I wish I could take just a lousy, one of the shitty selfies
Yeah.
and just post it and be like, yeah, look at that fucking bearded Yoda asshole.
Yeah.
Black fucking Yoda.
Yeah. Is race a problem in Yoda's race?
I would hope so.
Because
I
they're
would-
like tiny and green with giant ears.
They look so specific.
Yeah.
I would hope that there's like, a word for a person with 8 wrinkles above their eyebrows instead of 7.
Right.
Like I really
Yeah.
I want to know that we're not alone in the universe
Right.
in our fucked up ways of
Yeah.
making our species into groups.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or like, the force is not as strong with him. He was the mark of Cain.
Like you have like a certain group where there's no or very little force manipulation.
Yeah.
Right. You're like,
but they're like 3 times stronger physically.
you're an anti-midichlorian.
Right.
Yeah. So the other epiphany I came to listen to our episodes is I was trying to figure out how I fell into the pattern of how we do this. Because most of what we do here is a pattern that I've established because of the way that I host. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm emulating somebody. Who am I emulating? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure it out, and then it hit me. You've ever heard that show on NPR, Car Talk?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Click and Clap Tap Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who I'm emulating.
See, I love Click
I
and
can
Clack.
see that. And the interesting thing about it, this is my argument with people complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think of who are you emulating, right? The first thing that comes to mind is like 2 white guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm emulating.
When I think of who I'm emulating,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I think of like some generally dark brown comedian.
That's pretty much who you're emulating.
You,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like that's my thing. Like just really like off color, candid, like everything is a joke.
Yeah.
Like I got here this morning and Mike's like, someone who I worked with died. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, he wasn't expecting anything else because he knows me.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he's like, oh yeah, it was Bob, and I was like, oh shit, I knew Bob,
Right.
And he was like, well, Bob's not here anymore, and I was like, well, he's probably still here, and he was like, no, I mean he's dead, and I was like, yeah, but you don't know that doesn't, and so we got in this like metaphysical argument about this dead guy that we both know.
You might be like Mike Epps.
You know what I mean?
You're emulating.
And I'm just like, look, I was not trying to disrespect Mike's friend.
Right.
What I was doing was using humor to point out all the things we don't know about the world and the fact that if you believe like I do, which, by the way, does not come from a certain religion.
Yeah,
If you believe,
it does, but it doesn't.
If you believe like I do, that dude isn't gone. He's not here,
Right.
but he's doing shit somewhere.
I mean, that's definitely something that we've gotten to, because I believe that too. But we got there through, Jesus and his minions.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus was the first place I heard it, you know what I mean? But it was probably more Taoism that led me back to Einstein, and Einstein led me to ancient law, and that would probably make Einstein laugh his ass off.
I don't think Einstein would agree with you in any sense there. He's like, what the fuck is this idiot talking about?
Right, no, he would be like, this guy is actually one of the reasons that there are crazy houses. You know, and we should put him in it.
Yeah. Literally.
I don't know about that. I think that Einstein would connect on a thought level, right? He was very open to the idea of different thought processes, and what he wanted to do was he wanted to take concepts and put them through thought experiments to prove their validity, right? And so I think that he would accept from a scientific standpoint that you can't prove one way or the other. Right.
And that there are certain things about energy we know, such as they cannot be created or destroyed, but they can change form.
I mean, the laws of those are the ancient laws you're talking about. The laws of thermodynamics are time tested and proven, right? So it's just it really boils down to, I think if you had a conversation with Einstein, he's going to say it boils down to whether or not you believe our consciousness is some form of energy.
Correct. Now,
I think he would.
Now, the other interesting thing about that is,
Well,
and I'm going to let you take back over.
This motherfucker. How white is this son of a bitch? Really?
Just
I'm
assumes.
going to put up a poll and just put up how white is Pirate Ben on this podcast? Is he Casper white? Is he Frosty the Snowman white?
But see, this goes back to piracy. You know what I'm saying? This is why there are no more pirates, right? Because they all, of any color pirates, they all did this shit.
Yeah.
They would walk into like the governor's office and be about to be hanged, and they'd be like, well, I'm sorry, I took the floor from you. Continue, governor.
Yeah.
And the governor would just be like, pull out a pistol out of his desk, shoot the dude in the face.
Just shoot him.
And just be, get rid of this guy.
So
Take this guy
We had a ceremony planned, Governor. I know, but fuck
I
this guy.
know. I have blood on my shoes
Go
now.
go on, Ben. What were you about to say?
I don't remember now.
Also, true pirate form right there.
I think I was going to go back to you're watching, you're listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
And trying to determine where some of the direction
where the
comes from.
direction comes from, because it's a little weird. It's a little weird that we've done this many.
Yeah.
And it's a little weird how I do it to a certain extent, because I really don't plan any of this, but I do follow a pattern. You know, I started a certain way and then I ended a certain way. I know the reason why I ended the way that I do. Like I was because several times Mike has said, Ray, just record the end tag.
Right.
Record an end tag, standard end tag.
Right.
We can make it's easier for me to edit and all this shit. I'm like, no, Mike, I'm not doing that. The reason why is because of fucking Car Talk. Every time they ended Car Talk, they ended it a different way every episode. They did it live every time.
You would have a little extra. I mean, for those of you who don't know, at the end of Car Talk, they record a thing where they go over all the people that are responsible, you know, for the broadcast aside from themselves.
Right.
Right.
And give them weird ass names.
And they give them weird ass names, right? And they have a bunch of people who you're not even really sure if they're actual people either.
Like for sure they're not people. You know,
Right.
the law firm of
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Huey, Louie, and Dewey, known by the somebody in Harvard Square as Huey, Louie, Dewey. Like it was,
Right, yeah.
it was a bunch
They
of
have a
weird
whole
shit.
thing,
They had
you
a
know?
whole thing, and he would go through it rapidly in such a way that you were having a hard time following because you were laughing from the previous joke. Be it 20 more jokes. I used to love that shit. I loved it, and so
Yeah.
it made me listen to the whole broadcast all the way to the end credits.
Right.
And that's I just
where
wanted
they
to
laid their
get
final
that-
joke every single time. Where, and
Don't
even
drive like
though
my brother.
no,
Oh.
even though someone else, even though this happens when we say it, you're listening to NPR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because it kept me interested for the entire podcast, and I know I don't have that rhythm yet, but I've been practicing it for 60 episodes.
Right.
You know, where I get a rhythm at the end, where I can change it up every once in a while, so that you know that it's different.
Well, that brings up though. I think we're actually doing better than we think.
In what sense? Because I like that idea, but I'm not sure that it's true. But I want it to be true. So go ahead and tell me, how am I doing better?
Well, I think you're actually better at the rhythm than you give yourself credit for, because we're still in the infancy of the internet.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about tattooed with children. I'm talking about the internet. We're still in the infancy of technology.
Right.
Okay. And I have a fairly strong suspicion that if we were to switch up our thinking about how we promote it, switch up our thinking about how we go about our daily lives, that more people would listen and that you would be fairly impressed by the number of people that enjoy your cadence and enjoy your rhythm. But the difficulty is that specifically Americans' lives are already full.
Yeah, very.
And so you don't have a lot of people going,
I need to fill up this hour of time.
I want to find a podcast where I connect with the people. You have people waiting until, think about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, believe it or not, most of Joe Rogan's blow up came when
He got popular.
his wife, his wife's friends, his friends said to all their friends, Joe's really good at conversation. Just try one episode. So it was word of mouth.
And they're like, the
which-
dude that hosted Fear Factor? Like,
Yeah,
that dude?
Yeah,
or
he's good at conversation.
the UFC guy?
The
like,
UFC
like,
guy?
What? No.
He seemed really high the whole time.
Yeah.
And then
Like, yeah, he was. But
and
trust me, he's good.
then you get the picture of Elon Musk smoking weed on Joe Rogan, and the
Yeah.
entire popular public goes, "This is great."
So what I need is Elon Musk.
Well, and the interesting thing about
Everyone
that, though,
needs
is
Elon Musk.
I know you guys don't religiously follow Joe like I do. Everything in my life is religious. As a pirate, it must be. Joe had Robert Downey Jr. on,
Uh-huh.
and I almost didn't watch it because
Okay.
I'm not a big fan.
I think that's the other thing about it is somebody needs to watch this podcast. We gotta do that video.
See, that's what I was.
Cameras are right
That's
there,
what
buddy.
that's what I was about to say. Is that another thing? Is if we simply turned the video on, I think you would have 100 more listeners tomorrow.
I think you're probably
Because
right.
they would be able to say, I can watch this podcast.
See, and the thing about that is, and I was real scared about this last Saturday. We did the podcast party, and then Mike sprung a camera on me, and I was real nervous because I really don't like the way that I look
Yeah.
in general.
Right.
And so, like, I have a fear of being confronted with my own appearance.
Which is fascinating to me
Yeah.
because coming from where I come from,
Uh-huh.
everybody wants to be black.
Well, I mean,
like it's an iconic. It's such a look. Like you never when you're a fan of like fashion, okay?
Yeah.
So like I am, right?
Yeah.
There has never been a black or a brown dude in Vogue, okay?
Right.
That I went, that dude's ugly.
Right. Yeah.
There have been plenty of white guys where I'm like, why'd they put that dude
that
in there?
dude's hideous.
Yeah, like first of all, he's like 6'7", and he weighs 84 pounds, and I can count his ribs. That's just disturbing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And so, but again, this is a very Ben thing. And if people could see like the hand gestures I'm making now, right? They would fucking love this podcast.
I think they would because they would be able to see, like, you know, your hand tattoos. They could see the black spot in the middle of your palm.
Right.
You know,
They
like
can see how excited I get over shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You
like,
know?
you know, like when, like that throwaway line that Mike did by accident, you cracked up on. Like, that shit's gold. Like,
Yeah.
being in the studio, guys,
Right.
is so much fun. That's the
It
reason why I
is.
have so many episodes.
Right.
It's not really because I like the sound of my voice. I actually don't like the sound of my voice. I think my voice sounds really retarded. It's like too high but too low sometimes.
You really need to practice self-love.
I know.
This is
You have
what
a
I don't-
problem with your
this is-
voice, you have a
You're
problem with
actually
the way
hitting
you
the
look.
point that I wanted to make.
Okay,
Right?
go ahead.
You know you have a problem with your own voice, and now you've done 60 episodes, and you still have a problem with your own voice, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the same exact thing on video.
Right.
Yeah,
Seeing
no,
yourself
I'll
on
get used to
video
it.
is not going to change the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change the way you do things either.
Yeah, I can still have a great body of work. Which is what I discovered Saturday was I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
Just because the camera was there. I'll just like once I'm in the seat,
Right.
the atmosphere that we've created really drags all of the fears to the side.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be, you know, Flavor Ray for the mic.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I'm doing.
All
right
that
now.
being said, it's going to take a little while to get used to the lighting scenario here to properly light Ray the Black
Look,
Man.
It's going to take a little bit of time also to get his mom used to the lighting scenario.
but she's already used to Ray the Black Man. She and I had that discussion early. She knows what's up.
See, I like how I think that's also why people would want to see this is because they, from their perspective, they go, how is it possible that one of these morons hasn't punched the other one?
See, and this is the other great thing I realized listening to the podcast. I've got great partners.
Yeah.
And not every podcast has that.
No.
A lot of podcasts have one person that is real strong in one direction, and then the other ones are just dead weight.
Right.
You know, like, and I've got great guys to do this podcast with. So I'm going to thank Pirate Ben and say, oh no, you guys are true 100% helps on bringing out the best of me for my podcast. This podcast would not be anything without you guys. So I just want to thank you guys on the air in episode. What episode is this?
60.
This is episode 60?
This is 60.
Fuck! I did not do that on purpose. Where I did a retrospective on the zero,
The interesting thing to go back to what I was talking about,
which is the most important thing because, of course, the white man has the most important thing to say. Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry, King White Man.
Listening to I'm going to say this and see what y'all's response is.
Okay.
Listening to
Don't drink anything.
Yeah, put it down.
Listening to Joe Rogan and Bob Downey Jr. talk.
That's not his name. That's not a thing.
I want you to hang on.
No, I know where he's going.
This is a thing.
This is a thing, actually.
He calls himself
He
Bob.
calls himself Bob.
And his mother calls him Bobby.
Robert Downey Jr.'s name is actually Bob.
And everyone in Hollywood calls him Bob. He doesn't go by Robert.
His name is actually Tony Stark.
I understand that.
Sure.
And Joe made that point, by the way. But he referenced Bob and Bobby so many times, I flipped out like halfway through it and was like, Wikipedia is going to prove me right. And there's like Robert Downey, in parentheses, Bob. And I was like,
My entire life has changed as of this moment in time.
I know.
The same thing
That's an amazing thing.
The first time I like heard somebody refer to Robert De Niro,
Yeah.
it was like, you know, in conversation.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, Bobby was talking to him the other day, and he was like, who the fuck is Bobby?
Yeah. Like, why do they keep saying Bobby?
It's like, and it was like, you mean Bobby De Niro? Robert De Niro?
Right. And
He
it's
goes
like,
by Bobby? Like his friends call him Bobby?
but think about it. My dad is Robert Harbuck.
Yeah.
And you would never think about calling my dad Robert.
Honestly, it didn't even until you said it right now. I'd forgotten that your dad's name was Robert. His name is Bob.
His name is Bob. And his mom called him Bobby.
I mean,
so what you're saying is you're the child of Tony Stark?
Yes,
Yeah, no.
essentially.
Okay.
No.
Just want to be clear.
my father-in-law is also named Roberto.
The interesting thing that I found in that, and the one reason I've considered possibly opening up a space in my mind to like Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
For some reason, I've never liked him.
You know what? I didn't like him either until the Iron Man movie, till the first one.
Until he
But-
came back from the precipice.
But he said something that blew my mind.
Okay.
And it was because I had already stated it, and he was agreeing with me.
Of course.
And
That's the best way to get on Ben's good side is to agree with him.
And that statement was that his best movie in his entire life, the best movie he ever did, and the reason he got the Iron Man job was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I was like,
Yeah.
it was either Dazed and Confused or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
And I was blown away by that because I think that has been, next to Boondock Saints,
Yeah.
the most underrated film ever made on this planet.
Kiss Kiss Bang. If you haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, then do that immediately as listening to this episode. Like, go home, find it on a stream, or just buy it.
And by the way, ladies, the three that listen to us, you will love this film.
I think
Yes.
that's a little optimistic.
I know I told you to watch Boondock Saints, and Boondock Saints, they murdered a cat. But this movie doesn't have any murdered animals.
No, none. And that's the amazing thing is it's not the best film for just Bob Downey Jr. It's also the best film for Val Kilmer.
Yes.
It is fundamentally a flawless. When I think of Val Kilmer's best role, I think of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I hear the words in my head. Flawless victory.
Yeah. Val Kilmer. When I think of Val Kilmer's best role, I think of his turn as what's his face in
Oh yeah,
Tombstone.
Yeah, Doc
Holliday. in
Doc
Tombstone.
Holliday.
Doc Holliday in Tombstone was his best role.
Yeah, it was.
But as far as him being in a movie, like beyond Top Gun, as far as him just being in a movie and just really just stealing the fucking scene, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, man, you like that's how he got Heat, or maybe Heat was first. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But like his performance in Heat was really good.
Yeah.
But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was better. Like
Yeah.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was better than a lot of movies that you already know.
And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was, according to Robert Downey Jr., the reason he got Iron Man.
See, here's the weird thing about Hollywood. Hollywood oftentimes will make casting decisions based on shit that you've never seen.
Right.
Like you're thinking they're choosing Scarlett Johansson for this role in Eon Flex because of her bankability.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's because of some summer stock shit she did when she was off.
Yeah.
They looked and said, "Holy fuck, she can."
Yeah.
Did you see what she just did?
You know the other interesting thing that came up in that? He wears this medallion around his neck that is a Buddhist thing that hangs over his heart. And he wears it and has worn it since he was like 20.
Okay.
So whenever he's off, he's wearing this item.
Okay.
And the main guy that pushed the Iron Man thing, what's his name? It's the guy that played Tony Stark's assistant.
Yeah, Jon Favreau.
Yeah,
Jon Favreau thought he was perfect because he had already been wearing that for 20 years.
Over his heart.
And it fit the perfect spot that Iron Man's would have.
This is some interesting. This is an interesting conversation. Some shit I didn't know. We're gonna get right back to it in just a second. A quick break.
My name ain't Mikey, but yeah, I rock. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck. That's why it doesn't matter.
We're back with Tattoo of Children. We're in the Bob.
You almost can't say his last name.
I really
after
can't.
you say Bob.
Because it doesn't connect in
It
my head.
doesn't flow.
Yeah.
Like Robert Downey
Robert
Jr.
Downey
is
Jr.
a thing.
flows immediately.
Yeah,
Bob
Bob
Downey Jr.
You want to say Bob Jr.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I can do RDJ, right?
yeah.
You know, and I
Right.
can do Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But the other thing I can't do.
Yeah, okay, so see, that's the interesting thing is my wife, she'll text me because she's always had these, her celebrity list.
Yeah.
And so she'll text me like, if you're going to be like that, then I'm just going to RDJ. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm so confused. And she's like, Robert Downey Jr., you're such an idiot. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I am. Like, so
Who else is on her celeb list? Okay,
Do we
okay,
ha-
scare that.
like, do we want to? Like,
Okay,
you know
okay,
what?
okay.
You know what? I get it. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Why not destroy Ben's ego?
Well, let's put a pin in that one. Okay, just keep going. I'm not letting it go, but I'm gonna put it to the side for now. All right, we're getting into so when we went on break immediately, he went to the next part of this interview with Robert Downey Jr. I can't do the Bob Downey Jr.
You should never turn the mic off on me. It's just a bad idea. Like the B roll is probably better than the A roll when it comes to me.
I need to
it'll all-
learn
it'll
that
all be
we've
good for
gotta-
the cameras.
We've got to do that. We've
Yeah.
got to record
Yeah.
It'll all be different,
every
yeah.
portion of the stream.
So the next part of this was the Joe switched from his immediate "Would you please come back as Iron Man?"
Right.
And Bob is like, "But I haven't left. I mean, like literally, it's just now over."
Right. Yeah. Like I got off of work last Thursday.
Yeah, and Joe's like, "But I need you to come back because you're the only Iron Man. You're the only thing that can save us. Like, don't leave."
Right.
And and Robert Downey Jr. is like, "Dude, I'm not doing it. It's done. It's in the bag."
Right. It's
You know?
over. That part of my life is done.
And so like Joe's crying, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay, well, let me ask you another question then. Would you ever consider? I've wanted to know this for a long time. Would you ever consider making Tropic Thunder now? In 2020?
Now look, he's not saying Tropic Thunder 2.
No, he's
saying,
not.
would you make Tropic Thunder again?
Right.
Today.
Correct. And Robert Downey Jr.'s response was, absolutely not, hell no, never, ever, 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 ever. I
That's
would not do that.
That's exactly what I thought he would say.
And my favorite line, although there were a bunch of lines that just made the whole interview worth me recommending everyone go listen to Joe Rogan.
Sure.
Was he said the biggest fight he had was with his mother. And
wow.
And she just kept going. And Bobby, I have such a bad feeling about this one. Bobby, don't do it. Bobby, don't. You've done such good work, Bobby. Don't ruin it all.
Everybody loves you. You're going to ruin your life.
Right.
Your kids can't go to school if you do this movie, Bobby.
Right. And he talked about that, and he said, Mom, I agree with you, but my friend Ben is making an incredible film, and I have to be a part of it. And she said, but I have such a bad feeling. And he said, Mom, I also have a bad feeling.
Yeah.
That's what being an actor is. And I was like, okay, see, I respect that. He knew the risk. He knew how much hate he was going to get. He knew how many relationships were going to end.
Yeah.
But he said, I have never seen my wife laugh so hard as when she read that script. And she said, this is the best thing I've ever seen. You can't do it.
I love it. I love it.
She was like, this is horrific and so perfect. Because one of the things people don't know is that Ben Stiller is a genius.
Yes, he is a genius.
They think.
I don't know how you don't know that
They
unless you're
think
just in a hole somewhere.
well
He's an absolute-
because they look at it's the same problem Adam Sandler has.
I said, yeah.
Yeah.
I said there are
Okay.
certain certain actors, the way that they act
Right.
can oftentimes be off-putting.
Yeah.
Because but when they write to such a high degree of just automatic genius
Yeah.
that you're not ready for what they're doing.
His opinion was that making Tropic Thunder, okay, was the closest he will ever get to being on set with a Francis Ford Coppola. Being on set with Ben Stiller making Tropic Thunder. He's like, people don't understand how in the zone he was, knowing the shit that was going to come after it.
I mean,
knowing
what I love about Tropic Thunder and about Robert Downey Jr. now is that he knew that this was wrong. Ben
Yes.
Stiller knew, like everyone
Everyone
knew,
involved with
knew
it.
that it was wrong. And then when it hit the screen, I saw this movie with a bunch of people,
Yeah.
many of them black,
yeah,
and I have never heard louder laughter from a black audience
yeah,
when it wasn't a black made movie.
right,
Like Friday, we laughed real hard at.
yeah.
You know, but this movie, we absolutely guffawed, fell out in the floor
Yes.
because of just how committed he was to the role. It wasn't even what he was saying; it was the fact that he had committed everything
Right.
to this role, and it was the actor in the movie doing the same thing.
And it was such a bad idea. See, that's the other funny thing about comedy.
Yes,
Is that he knew it was wrong. The director knew it was wrong. If you go back and watch the film, which I started it a couple nights ago, if you go back and watch the film, you can see the other actors wince. What does it take to make Jack motherfucking Black wince?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There are several
like-
scenes where, like, you look in the background and somebody
Yeah.
just shakes their head and
Yeah,
looks at their
they're,
feet.
they're just like, they're going to hang me for this. They're literally, this could be a hate crime. I could be participating in a hate crime.
Yeah.
But they also, and that was the thing, is he didn't get into it fully, but he went, look, I could not make that film today.
Yeah.
And not only could I not, I would not. If you approached me and said, I have $1 trillion, make this film. The answer is no.
Right.
Well, but you'll get to Mars with it. You can save the planet. The answer is no.
Right.
I cannot take all the plastic out of the ocean, okay, and make this film to do it. It can't be done,
Yeah.
Right.
but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That-
It can't.
like-
It
like
can't.
it- oh, like that paradox.
It can't be done today.
No, it cannot be done today. But the paradox was so. I think that's where we get respect. That's where we move from, in my perspective, that's where we move beyond racism. That's where we move beyond classism. That's
Yeah.
where we move beyond sexism, is when for a moment we accept that this is a thing we have to do. And if we don't do it, the universe will judge us.
Yes. In other words, we will make the world worse if we don't do this now because we cannot do it later.
And he said, look, I'd lost a lot of friends over it and a lot of people, and I can't help but agree with all my friends who believe I did the wrong thing
Right.
because their logic is flawless.
Right.
I can't help but agree with them.
Yeah.
But on the other side, for the sake of film, for the sake of comedy, for the sake of in 100 years, someone having the right to be an actor,
Right.
I had to.
And there's a lot of actors that made that decision. You know, Brando made what was that movie? 9.5 weeks.
Right. I thought that was
no.
O'Rourke.
Yeah, that was like what was Brando's? No, Last Tango in Paris. Brando made Last Tango in Paris, where it was like the world's most realistic rape scene.
Right.
You know, it was like things like that. Actors have to take these chances because if they don't, we no longer have movies. And if you've noticed, there hasn't been a whole lot of chances being taken in the last 10 years,
There hasn't been because
and we're running out of movies.
Yeah, we're running out of movies. We're running out of stories because no one wants to be the next Fall Guy. And the interesting thing about that conversation is that's where they moved. He was like, look, you don't really get a choice in when you're the Fall Guy.
Right.
He said, I could wake up tomorrow and be it.
Right.
That's the reality. The reality is I could wake up tomorrow and be the Fall Guy for Twitter. Be the Fall Guy for the internet. you know, and there's nothing I can do about it. He's like, no one lives in such a way that they have the right.
to not be judged harshly by the public and history.
Correct. And that's an interesting idea to me, because a lot of times you and I, especially Ray, because we'll say the wrong thing, you and I get a lot of flack for pushing certain conversations too far.
Yes.
And I don't in any way liken myself to these famous Hollywood people.
I kind of do.
But I will say this. It's very difficult for me to not use humor to cover up depression, sadness, sorrow, or suffering
Right.
when I still live around racism. And the interesting thing about that is I don't know if a lot of my Hispanic friends do.
Right.
Because
If you
these
live-
people won't be racist
Around
around
them.
you.
Yeah.
They'll be racist around me.
Yeah. Like the
Because
N-word.
they think I'm okay with it.
The N-word I have not heard out of a white man in any sense, joke or any other way, in probably the last 15 to 18 years.
Right.
But I know that they still say it,
Right.
but they just won't say it to me.
Right.
Now, that means, yes, in one sense, it made my life easier.
Sure.
In not having to confront that
Uh-huh.
on a daily basis.
Right.
In another sense, it made my life harder in that now I have to work harder to find who's the one that says the N-word more.
And you have to work harder to know, is the guy I have a relationship with the bank, is he really a true relationship, really a true friend?
Or,
Or does he walk out of the office from his meeting with me and say,
man, I
That
hate talking
blah,
to this,
blah, blah.
hate talking to this nigga every time he comes in for his
Right.
fucking, like that is a more danger to me and my family.
Yes.
Than the guy, got the goddamn Confederate flag in his back window. I love that guy.
yeah, because you and I, and that's why but I think that's why we push conversations sometimes, is because the drug dealer has never bothered me.
No.
I know what he is. The gangbanger has never bothered me. I know what he is.
Yeah.
What has always terrified me and like kept me up at night is a lineup of the usual suspects
Right.
of 15 to 20, I'm using air quotes, normal looking white guys. And I don't know which one's the racist, which one's the rapist,
Right.
which one's the child molester, which 3 I can really count on,
Right.
and which 11 haven't made a decision yet about who to be.
Like there was a guy in that came to the coffee shop one time. I think he was either from out of town. He was an out of town former like FBI agent or investigator or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like had bug eyes,
Yeah.
and so he ordered his drink. He's like, guys, can I just say something to you real fast? We're like, what, man? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen this many serial killers in one spot before.
Yeah.
We're like, what do you mean? Like, this town.
Yeah.
You guys know how many serial killers are here?
Right.
Like, how do you know? So you can look in their eyes and tell.
Right. No, I remember that conversation.
And then me and Ben both looked at each other and went, he's right.
Yeah.
That's that thing we've been seeing in these people.
Yeah. Well, it's the first season of True Detective.
Yeah.
The first season.
Yeah,
of,
that was going on.
The first season of True Detective really is probably even above the horror genre. I don't think I've ever been shaken by something I've seen on television as the first season of True Detective.
Him coming up on that first murder scene,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and him establishing right away that it's a ritual,
Yeah.
really did something to me because
And
it
then-
was like, how many times have you come across that scene in the woods?
And then 3 episodes later, it's all related to the church in southern Louisiana
Yeah.
and southern East Texas.
Yes.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Carry the club like Neanderthal, the choir got everybody dancing, dog. Yell on that X, I'm a sentinel, standing tall, no time to stand still. Please don't meander, dog. They're throwing jazz at me to challenge my rap savvy. I sway like Callaway, I'm ahead, you'll never catch me. Ain't worry about
All right, you're back with Tattoo with Children. Guys, this is how this podcast works. Okay? The podcast works with I will come up with an idea on the fly, start talking about it, and then Ben, usually Ben, but it could be Mike, will interrupt, derail, and we'll rabbit trail for about an hour.
Yeah.
And we never actually get to the point that was going to be made in the first place. But that's okay, because that's the reason why I have so many episodes. Like, the point is there somewhere, and eventually we're all going to find it. My point in starting this, when I started, was, and I honestly, I didn't know that we were on the 60th episode, but I had been listening to us, and I had certain insights into what we were doing. And the reason why I'm listening is because we're getting ready to change things.
Right.
Not for the worse, okay? It's still going to be everything that we do, but we're going to be doing more things. We're going to be trying to do exciting things, you know, for ourselves and for you.
Right.
One of the things that I've done is I've gotten onto this website called Podchasers.
Mm-hmm.
Podchasers is a website that is all about finding podcasts and trying to get the podcasts that people like to the people that also like those kinds of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go on Podchasers right now and follow your best friend who's also on Podchasers. And every time he watches, listens to a podcast, recommends it, you will also be aware of that podcast just by being on Podchasers. It's a very nice service for those of us who listen to podcasts. So I recommend everyone go on to Podchasers. And if you can't afford that $5 for Patreon, you can help me out even more, perhaps, by leaving a review on Podchasers. Because the more reviews I get, the higher reviewed I am, the more Podchaser goes, hey, this guy should be listened to by more people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can find me and follow me on Podchasers at Flavor Ray, which is FLAVA Ray, RAY, no spaces. Flavor Ray's on there. He is listed as the creator, host of Tattoo with Children. And you can also follow the actual podcast, Tattoo with Children. And you can leave a review for Tattoo with Children. It's all on Podchasers. So that is along the lines of me doing things as the idea of improving our reach and improving our product. Okay? Because the more people that listen to us, the more insights I get because of feedback, the better the podcast is. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we'll be doing, we just mentioned video earlier. We'll be doing video. We have some plans, some ideas that we're going to start streaming more often.
Yeah.
Because we did that stream, and that turned out really well. We really liked that.
That was fun, at least.
It was fun. You know, it was like the pressure of live was pretty good. So we're going to do some more streams. There's going to be more of that Patreon content that we're so famous for. I think 3 people have heard it.
Are we though?
Well, 3 people. I mean, that's 3 people.
Right.
That's dope.
And you can definitely be famous in your own mind.
Exactly.
I mean, I've been famous in my own mind since I was like 11.
And honestly, there's nothing more important than being famous in your own mind, quite frankly. That's your whole universe is in your
Right.
own mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in other words, guys, I'm looking back on it and making sure that I'm not doing something wrong is what I was started out with. And I've determined that I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
I'm putting out something that I'm not afraid to not be able to live down.
Right.
You know, and that's important to me.
Yeah.
Is that when people look back on it, if you hate it, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Write it, you know, come to my funeral and tell me what an asshole I was.
Yeah.
You know, I really want that.
Yeah.
And if you love it, you know,
Has there
Show
ever,
your love. That's no
has-
problem.
Has there ever been a podcast recorded in a shower?
I
No.
mean, probably. There's a lot of people who do podcasts. Maybe they just do it in the shower.
I'm just gonna say no.
I just
It could be. I mean, it could like. Well, I guess I'm looking look up on Podchasers.
yeah. I mean, I was just wondering.
Isn't it? And if you type in the word, if you go to Podchaser right now and do search,
Yeah.
and type in the word tattooed,
Uh-huh.
our podcast would be the second podcast to pop up at the top.
Nice.
The first one was a podcast called Tattooed Banana.
Well, I was just thinking, like, if I didn't want to come in one day, I could just stay in the shower and call in, and that'd probably be pretty dope too.
I will accept that only if the shower runs the entire time. You can't turn the shower off.
Okay, I have to stay in the shower.
You have to
the
stay
whole
in the
time?
shower the whole
Yeah.
time.
Well,
I mean, how else are you supposed to have those wonderful shower thoughts, right? Unless the shower's actually on,
right,
right? Because the minute that water goes off,
right.
you stop having all those thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
like, why are some bananas small?
I just,
Right.
I
Other
just,
bananas
I just
big?
really want the people listening to say, is he touching his balls right now? While he's
No.
What are you
No,
doing
what
there?
happens is I go like 15 minutes or so, and I'm like super good. Like if I'm taking an extra long shower, I go like 15 minutes, and it's like super confident.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a big shower. Thankfully, my house builder was like, I'll give you a shower you can walk around in.
right.
And so, but then I generally hit that like really bad spot where I'm like super depressed.
Right.
I'm just like, my God, I'm never gonna work out.
We all get there in the shower.
Like I'm just never gonna. This is never gonna work. I'm never.
You know what? Will Smith said the exact same thing. Will Smith had just came off of doing I Am Legend,
Okay.
and he was like doing an interview, and they were like, "Say, man, you look so good in I Am Legend." And he's like, "Yeah, but when I sit down, I get like this little rumple thing." on my side."
Right. Yeah.
it was like, man, we all feel that way in the shower. It's like, you feel good going in the shower, and the water hits you, you feel good, and you look down like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
What is this nonsense?
Yeah.
Who told you to have this body?
Who made this thing? Like, can I complain? Like, where was the design element? Like, what was the purpose of the design feature of this part?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Say these are love handles for
Yeah.
They don't do that. They never hold on there.
What designer, in Buick decided that we should be able to fit 11 dead bodies in the trunk? Like what was that about?
Okay, that brings me back to another thought I was having, which is, all right, so who would your wife have sex with if she could have sex with the famous people?
Jesus fuck.
We're going straight back to the celeb list.
All right.
Okay, no,
so-
wait, I don't. Okay, listen, I don't. She's not here, so you're not give her a list. What is your list? What is your list of sex celebrities?
So that's difficult for me, and she's always
Okay.
hated when we play this game
Because you don't have a whole. You don't have a whole list.
because I don't know them.
Okay.
So it's very difficult for me to imagine sleeping with someone that I haven't met
Yeah, I hear you.
because that just sounds incredibly awkward. Like me naked is at my most vulnerable.
Right.
Okay, and
You don't want
I-
to take your clothes off. A person's gonna be like, oh, seriously?
Yeah, like I don't like when I was younger, like I don't have any problem. Like I think the first time it was probably like the first time Sarah and I like had this conversation was like 1998,
Yeah.
1999 maybe,
Uh-huh.
and I probably would have mentioned Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay.
Like Michelle Pfeiffer was like hot as fuck,
Uh-huh.
and it was like her prime was during my adolescence.
Right.
Like she did all these great movies. She just had this way she carried herself of confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember
and,
Michelle
and,
Pfeiffer.
and like there was so it wasn't really a body type as much as it was like this attitude of no matter what happens to me today, I will in fact survive,
Right.
thrive, and be better tomorrow.
Right.
And I find that incredibly attractive.
I hear you.
And so that was probably the extent of my list.
Okay.
Like there might have been like one or two other people, but offhand, I can't recall.
See, my list has also always been short.
Yeah.
Well, because like there's just very few people that really I think about having sex with at all, other than my wife for me was my dream girl.
Yeah.
Like she really was. It was like I ordered her online, and so it was very difficult for me to imagine another situation like that. Like I think back in the day, I probably would have said Jennifer Lopez. I definitely would have said. I
that
definitely would
J-Lo
have
booty.
said.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely would have said Alicia Keys.
Okay. All
I
right.
definitely would have said Selena before she was killed.
See, but this is the interesting thing.
Thank you for that clarification.
Are you saying that you would have sex with them, or this is where I'm very curious because I just realized why I couldn't think of more. I couldn't think of more because I haven't met them and I'm thinking about having sex with them. That's not how my brain works.
Right.
Or are you thinking about having a conversation with them?
Yes, particularly in the sense for Selena and Alicia Keys.
Okay, so
Like
see,
I really wanted, like when Alicia Keys first came out, I was fascinated by who could make this music, and so I just really wanted to get her in a room
right.
and be like, explain to me everything about you, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And like I was fascinated by everything about. Like nowadays, I'm much more. One of the things that changed about me as I got older was age appropriate became much more important to me. Like I really have a hard time feeling anything for somebody too far below my own age,
Okay.
and so now I'm like, Jill Scott does it for me.
Okay.
You
So like when you switch though to say, what celebrity would you have a conversation with?
If you say what celebrity I have a conversation with, the list gets longer. For
yeah.
sure.
Well, for me, it sprints there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like the first one would be Annie DeFranco.
Nice.
The second would probably be Alanis Morissette.
Interesting.
yeah.
As soon as you get into tattoos or people around celebrities, Hannah Pixie,
Yeah.
Grace Neutral.
Hannah Pixie. I think Grace Neutral was taught by Hannah Pixie, or was it other?
Yeah, they seem to be right there together. It's real hard to
Yeah.
tell in the early days where exactly they were. When you get into films and television shows and all that, because again, that's probably what I would be more interested in anyway, is the conversation.
Yeah. The pillow talk.
The connection between how did you get here? How did you learn? When did you know you wanted to be? Did you ever know?
Did you ever know you want to be a famous person?
Or are you simply like it's Wednesday?
Yeah.
And you're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I think a lot of artists are like that. I think a lot of musicians and actors are like, you know what? I don't really think of myself as being famous. I think of myself as going to work, and then people either like it or they don't, and then I have to go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always have a running list of men and women that I would have conversations with.
Now, I would really want to have, like, looking at the entire body of work, I really want to have a conversation with Henry Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
Because his body of work is kind of crazy if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And he really threw himself in every role he throws himself into.
Mm-hmm.
And people are wondering, like, why did you go that deep on that role?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, why didn't you go that deep on Superman?
Yeah.
Because Superman's boring. You know, like, literally, that's the reason. Superman was nothing. I
Right.
don't really have to think about him.
But then then there's that weird thing of like, well, before I go into that, Mike.
Oh, yeah, Mike,
List.
go ahead.
I thought I was going to get away with this without having to do it.
Oh well, do
No,
you
that's
want
okay.
do you
No,
want
it's-
me, do you
it's
want me to
perfectly
interrupt
You
you?
don't have to.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly fine. So since we're dividing this topically, right?
Sure.
If I have to straight up go at it,
Christ, he's going to design
Right.
a database over it.
I'm not going to design Davis over it.
His analysis
There
is so
there are
in-depth.
3 off the top of my head:
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Anna Kendrick,
Okay.
Okay.
Kristen Bell,
Okay.
and the crazy Fairuza Balk.
I don't know who that is.
Say it again.
Fairuza Balk,
What
I know who that is.
Tell me the.
the Craft,
Okay.
the crazy one.
Oh, God. God, Mike.
Now, I don't know that Fairuza Balk is actually that crazy in real life. I don't think that she is, but she's got the look.
She has the crazy eyes for sure.
Right?
Plausible.
And so in that case, it's just going at it with a celebrity. The idea is it would be a safe time to stick your dick in crazy.
Okay.
Right?
I see where you're coming at it.
Yeah,
Now-
all right.
So this brings us to another interesting thing, which is the fact that I think all three of us value relationships and or conversation over sex.
I think that's fair. That's fair, sure.
Now,
Yes.
I'm not saying 100%.
You know
I'm
what,
not
but-
saying sex is not a big part
Yes,
of it.
okay, yes. I would say that's true.
I didn't say, but I'm just saying that's where we're coming from, which I think a lot of people would find unusual about three men of three completely different backgrounds.
That we value
Conversation and or relationship
over
Yeah.
the whole sex thing.
Yeah, if you told me right now I could have a conversation with anyone in the world, or I could have sex with a celebrity,
I would definitely take the conversation.
100%.
Like,
Every day.
that is true.
Every day.
That's absolutely true.
Yes.
Like
So-
sex is not that important to me.
Right. So then if you get into that, this is where I get super weird. Because
Okay.
to me, I have a quick list, okay,
Uh-huh.
of women that I want to have a conversation with that
Yeah.
I would pick over celebrities.
Well, yeah, okay.
And so, for instance, Latina Sweetie. Latina Sweetie on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It may have an underscore in there somewhere, but it's Latina Sweetie. She works for Gary Vaynerchuk.
Right?
And about 2 years ago, Gary V called her and three white guys into the office, okay,
Uh-huh.
and said, our company needs to go a new direction. I want to move you guys to basically C-suite, the office of the CEO,
Right?
and I want you to change the direction of my company. And she was like, what are you talking about? I have been here all of 18 months.
Right.
And he's like, because when I think of people who could run the company the way I do,
You are the people that
you're
come
at
to
the top of the list.
mind.
And I went, I got to have a conversation with her.
Yeah. Right.
About 3 months later, I was really digging into getting attention from Vayner Nation.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I actually got to talk on the phone with her for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And she said, unfortunately, she could not help me or mentor me or do my business because I didn't make $6 million a year.
Yeah.
She didn't say it in a bad way, though.
No.
She was actually regretful.
What she said was, I believe you're doing fine.
Yeah,
This is not the right thing for you right now.
right. But also, what my job is dealing with people that are in a little bit different place than you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, that's devastating. Like, that's the biggest rejection of my life. You know what I mean?
All
Like,
right.
because I could just talk to, because she fascinates me.
Yeah.
She's successful. I want to be her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be that human that when people think of how can we change the course of our company, they go, well, Ben Harbuck is it.
Right.
So, like, I admire, and so, see, that's...
You aspire to that level of competence.
Yes, 100%. And I think she's the perfect person to admire. Another one is Karen Civil.
Yeah.
I found
Karen
out about
Civil.
Karen Civil because of Nipsey Hussle.
Yep.
I think Karen Civil is like an amazing woman, but an even more interesting entrepreneur. Like, she's always doing shit that blows my mind. Like, have you seen this new line of clothes she's coming out with?
Yeah.
It is off the chain good.
Yeah.
Like, it is streetwear 101 in an era where all the French proper designers are saying streetwear is dead. Karen Civil's like, yo, fuck you. We got this.
Yeah. And Ben is real in the street. And in fact, we're probably going to start a streetwear brand. Don't tell anybody that's out
Yeah,
there.
don't tell anyone. And then the third one would probably be Amber Vittoria. I know I've mentioned her before, but like, I don't know really what Amber Vittoria looks like. I found out about Amber Vittoria because I follow K-Swiss religiously. And one day they came out with this dope shoe that I couldn't buy because I was born with a penis.
Right.
They only had women's sizes in it. and it was an incredible shoe, and I wasn't able to get it, but I started following the artist who designed it, and her name was Amber Vittoria, and she did this incredible artwork. Well, the longer I followed it, I found out that they are all, or a majority of them that she was putting on the internet, were self-portraits drawn with her non-dominant hand.
Yeah, that is fucking weird to me. Like, why would you even do that with your non-dominant hand?
And I find that in the childlikeness, it blows my fucking mind.
Like, that's a very artist thing to do.
And so I go like,
Let's make it hard for no reason.
yeah, but imagine,
Let me just make this hard. It's the most difficult thing I can possibly do.
but imagine though, think about how passionate I am right now.
Yeah.
Like how I'm almost like coming through the mic across the table at you. But when you were like, hey, so what was your celebrity sex list? I was like, I don't really know. That's not nerves, guys. That's just not what excites me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
it's he's not real, and it's not to say he's not into. That's not true at all.
No,
He's-
it's not true.
He's extraordinarily into
I
sex.
was born with a penis.
But we're both more excited about conversations. Like, in other words, I thought about making a sex podcast. Actually, a podcast where we
That
talk.
was a topic that we actually discussed.
We talked about like we're just gonna
I still
talk
think we
about.
should. Yeah, we should do that. Let's do that in like year 6 when we're really positive. When we're
Yeah,
really,
when
when
we're
we're really
really-
popular.
We're really going. I'm gonna fuck the whole thing up.
Yeah, and just be like, guys, today Tattooed with Children is turning into sex with 3 guys.
That doesn't sound appealing at all.
That is the worst name for a podcast.
We're gonna
anybody's
lose.
ever come up with.
We're gonna lose half
At least.
of the followers we have just on the name alone.
At least, bare minimum. If I didn't lose 3/4, I'd be disappointed in all of you. No, I thought making a sex podcast, and I decided against it because honestly, sex doesn't really interest me enough to do 10 episodes. You know, like conversations what interests me. And
But
so,
we could have conversations about sex for more
yeah,
than 10 episodes.
but it can't be like I can converse about a whole episode of sex,
Right.
You know, or 2 episodes, and then after that, I'm like, we're okay. We figured out sex. Let's move on.
I just want to play Leon Phelps for like 6 months.
Oh God, I'd see it. And I couldn't even allow that. I couldn't even let that go.
And there's one of the people on my conversation list. It
Leon
wouldn't develop
Phelps?
into sex, but Tim
Tim
Meadows.
Meadows.
Tim Meadows. Yeah.
I think I would just love to have conversations with comedians.
Yeah.
That's why I love
That is
comedians
so
in cars.
fast. I think in
getting coffee so
episode
much.
2 we mentioned Tim Meadows, and now it's
Yep.
episode 60, and Tim Meadows has reared his head once again.
Tim Meadows, if you're listening, we
Yeah.
love you. You're
not,
awesome.
He's not listening. All right, guys.
I wonder if Tim Meadows knows how many celebrities don't know what podcasts are?
You know what? Probably a good many.
Like I was in Home Depot the other day buying some glue, and this 12-year-old was trying to help me find what I needed because
Yeah.
it's like a spray-on glue, but it wasn't with the spray paint.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What do you need it for?" And he's like 12, and I was like, "Well, I'm making a
podcast room."
podcast room." And he was like, "What? You know about podcasts?"
But you're old.
And I was like, "Yeah, I also have a driver's license. Do you need a ride home after this?" Like,
All right.
fuck you, kid.
All right, guys. On that note, this is Tattoo with Children. I've been your host, Flavor Ray. You can find Tattoo with Children on Facebook at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Instagram at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Twitter at Tattooed With. You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Vanguard. That's one word, Hunter Vanguard. You can find me on IG at Mandara Shadow. You can find Ben at Black Crow Brother on IG and also at Black Spot Tattoo Company. You can find Mike Payne on IG at Sayo Payne or also at Payne.points. That's Payne spelled Payne. And you can find us on Podchasers. Brought that in there. Look at that. A little bit different. You can find us on Podchasers where you drop us a review. Or if you're not the talkative type and you don't like writing, then you can go ahead and drop $5 on Patreon and, help pay for this fuck ton of coffee I have to drink every time to do this episode. And, it's episode 60. It's been a good ride for 60 episodes. Things are going to be getting better. Good things are ahead. I hope you keep riding with us here because we keep riding with you. Take care of yourself before you take care of others. And I love you.
Peace.
Later.
it back, but it's more than basic. Cause a portion of his rap at the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some more observations are important, like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the chorus